Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you once more with Adam ShipMyMoney Scherer as we head into a Thursday MLB slate. We are focusing on baseball. There's two early games, 8 games starting at 7 o'clock. There will be separate shows for NBA, which makes its triumphant return in the Orlando bubble on Thursday. We will also have Live Before Lock going up to the NBA tip-off, which I believe is 6:30, and then promptly Jake and myself will be jumping on the live stream, taking over for Alex and Adam, and we will be switching to baseball, taking you up to lock there. We will still have baseball strategy show, all sorts of goodness here, so we've got you covered. Don't worry, and then stay tuned. Hit the like button. We enjoy that, but subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell. We are going to have so much content coming out. On Saturday alone, we're doing NASCAR, NHL, baseball, and basketball, and that's I think 6 shows that are going to happen. And then of course Sunday we'll reprise it with basketball and baseball. So we've got everything going on there. And then the last thing, because the time is running out here, promo code RESTART gets you 1 month of Awesemo all access premium content for $45. That's half off the regular price. You get NBA, MLB, PGA, more, League of Legends, NASCAR, all the good stuff. Jump on in, have some fun. You're not going to find a better value anywhere else. And this is one of the rare times we go this deep of a discount, but we want you guys to come back in. And by the way, a full month, gosh, that's almost half of the it's all of the basketball 2-week lead into the playoffs, and it's half of baseball, Adam, because it's 2020 and weird stuff is going on. Adam, how have you been? It's been not quite a whole week. You were on with me Saturday, but how have you been?
Been good. I think that this is baseball should get a little bit more fun to talk about now. So I'm excited. The first week or whatever is kind of just talking about how guys did last year, and you can't really add a whole lot to it because you don't know anything. But now you're starting to get a week's worth of games. You're starting to get the second time through the rotation for pitchers. So there's a little bit more to talk about, and so I'm excited.
All right, we're just going to give cursory notice here to the first 2 games. We've got a 4 o'clock game and a 6 o'clock game. Both have weather. One, it's not going to matter because it's in Toronto. They have the Rogers Center there, formerly known as the Sky Dome. You've got Eric Fede.
They're not playing in Toronto.
Oh, why does it say to? Oh, you're right. Oh my God, they're playing in Buffalo. This is their first homestand, isn't it?
They're playing in DC, I think.
Okay, I'm stepping back. ESPN, and now I'm going to go look. And
I could be totally wrong, but
no. The ESPN was so, I don't want to say screwed up, but their schedule went wonky. Our back end stuff went wonky. It's saying Washington at Toronto. Let's go to MLB.com.
Yeah, no, but
it was that reset one. You're right.
As of last time I saw, they didn't have the lighting in Buffalo yet.
Right, and I remember that now as well. So it could be, yes, you are right. It is at Nationals Park. Toronto is being counted as the home team, but it is at Nationals Park. So we'll, see what's going on with that. But thank you, Adam. So there's a little bit of weather here. Adam and I are both, he's a little north of the city. I'm a little bit west and south of the city here. It's been humid. It's been warm. I don't think there's going to be any issues with getting in this game that we're going to have. So I'm not going to worry about that. But thank you. It is definitely not in the Rogers Center. So you've got Eric Fede going against Hinyin Ryu here. The analysis of this, take all the Toronto bats you can. Any interest in Ryu? We should, I think, see Juan Soto back. He had cleared baseball protocol, but was waiting for the DC health board to clear him or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, typically if you're waiting on government in DC to do something, he should be back in about 2 weeks. But yeah, maybe he'll be back. Ryu, obviously a really good pitcher. The Nats lineup watered down without Rendon, potentially without Kendrick or Soto. We'll have to see. But I think that, on a 2-game slate, Ryu definitely carries some appeal just because there's not a lot of strikeouts in the Nats lineup, but it's just not as potent a lineup as we've seen in previous years either.
Yeah, and kind of they're right now it's 0-0 in the 10th in Nationals Park. We had Max Scherzer go 7 1/3, 10 strikeouts. Let's see, is it Nate Pearson? Nate
Pearson,
yeah. Nate Pearson ended up going 5 innings, 5 strikeouts. So yes, the Nationals have 3 hits against Nate Pearson, Sam Gaviglio, Yamaguchi, and 3 other pitchers whose names I do not recognize. So there we go. That's all you need to know about the Nats right now. Especially missing Howie Kendrick. Howie Kendrick, I think, is like 36 now or 37, and he is one of their prominent bats in the absence of Anthony Rendon, who is now in Anaheim, and then ideally they do get Juan Soto back. On the other side, any of the young talented guys with power, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Cavan Biggio, Teoscar Hernandez, those guys are all just fine, so you can look to them. The 6 o'clock game, now this one does have a little bit of weather, and the problem is there are new rules with regards to canceled games. So Major League Baseball is basically saying, if I understand, Adam, they're not really postponing anything. They're calling them suspended, and it just sort of takes place the next day. So DraftKings has decided if there's a postponement on a 2-game slate after lock, they're still playing the slate out. They're not going to cancel it. As of now, all the other sites are saying, there's only one game. We're going to cancel it. If it were to go down to 1 game beforehand, all the sites are waving it off. So that's something to pay attention to. We'll have to see what happens as the rain, ends up in Cincinnati tomorrow. Is it thunderstorms? What will the weather bring us? I don't know. It's hard to tell there. So let's just say it's going to play clean. We have Yu Darvish and Luis Castillo. Do either of these guys stand out for you?
Yeah, I think Castillo, just based on the talent alone, you're talking about a shorter slate. He's clearly the most talented pitcher on the slate. It's not a great matchup against the Cubs, but 4 pitchers to really talk about. So I think Castillo stands out. On the other side, Darvish comes in with good strikeout stuff, but he also has legitimate home run issues. And you're talking about a Cincy team that does have a lot of power, and this game's in Great American, so it plays up home runs. So I think going to Reds bats and Castillo makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's about all we need to cover on this one. Just to not to be, I sort of threw ESPN under the bus. So with all of these postponements because of the whole Miami COVID issue and Philadelphia not being able to play either until they get their secondary round of testing back. So we used to get screwed up by double headers. We still do a little bit, but most sites have kind of fixed that over the years. But they're still carrying on their schedule Philadelphia at New York, Miami at Baltimore. You saw that SuperDraft was missing some, but not both of the games, I think, or they're not playing the night game somehow tonight. We saw other sites, get all wonky. Ours got wonky just behind the scenes because we're pulling data feeds from other places that don't know how to say this game isn't happening. They've invented new games.
Right.
They did this overnight. I'm not sure how to push the data out on the APIs. So it's just, we're all going to get there. But in any event, now we're on to our 8 games for our later site. 5 are going off at 7. 3 are going off between 9:40 and 9:45. We're going to go game by game here. We'll talk about the prominent pitching aspects. Adam, you'll be happy about this one. You've got J.A. Happ, lefty, 10,400 on DraftKings going against your Baltimore Orioles, who have been a little frisky here and there, but they're not in the best spot today. And then you also have John Means, 5,800. Well, actually, he's the guy that's not in the best spot going against the Yankees, against that heavy right-handed team, but they still have a lot of strikeouts, and he is 5,800, and we have to play 2 pitchers on DraftKings. Any merit to either of these guys?
I don't think I want to pay that salary for Happ. It just seems like it's pretty unnecessary on a slate that has some other pitching options. This slate obviously not as deep as the slate was yesterday when we had a bunch of aces going, but there's still plenty of guys for less money than Happ. For Means, it's a terrible matchup. It's a ton of really good right-handed power. It's just a really bad spot. You have Means coming back from the injured list. The one thing that I would point out is that on the 2 pitcher sites, he is one of the cheapest arms. He's only 5,800. He's a league average pitcher. He does have one really good pitch in his changeup. In large field tournaments, if you want to take a flyer on him, I think he's more talented than Martin Perez at that price point, for example. But it's certainly not something that I would want to invest a lot of money in or feel confident in whatsoever.
All right, I just want to check him out over here on Yahoo. 32 for Means, 34 for Happ. So not getting much of a discount for Means there, but Happ is somewhat interesting over there. The rest of the starting pitchers are, well, let's just say he's about the 12th most expensive. So he's someone that you can look to for a second pitcher on that site. Now, we have our any bats you want to call it in particular on this one, just because the
Anyone
Yankees
on the
are so,
Yankees?
yeah, 6.4 implied run total. Move
Jose Iglesias batting third at 3,100. I don't really believe in it, but he's hitting the hell out of the ball right now.
who
More
is
importantly, he's a cheap shortstop.
obviously Davis isn't in the lineup. It feels like they're missing somebody else, not the other guy who's out for cancer. No, I can't tell. Anyway, all right. Well, Santander, Austin Hayes, Hanser Alberto are getting a bump on DK's pricing there, so just be careful. You may not want to go that route. Our next one, kind of interesting here. We have a couple of lefties again. Martin Perez at 6,000 for the Bo Sox going against the Mets and Steven Matz. Tough matchup going both ways here. The Mets are not really the LOL Mets anymore, Adam. We've got some solid right-handed hitting with Pete Alonso and JD Davis. You also have Yoenis Cespedes able to DH every single day, so he's not going to have to worry about doing anything crazy and carrying a glove or stepping in holes and hurting himself. Oh wait, he only does that on his ranch. And then you've got Ahmed Rosario up to 4,700 on DK. That seems a little bit lofty. But Martin Perez, somebody that generally doesn't get absolutely destroyed. Would you go for a stack with the Mets, or would you go one-offs here, hoping for a home run?
I think either one are fine. I think Perez is one of the worst pitchers on the slate, and you have a lot of right-handed power here for the Mets. Going back to last season, a 181 ISO allowed by Perez, only a 148 expected ISO, but also only an 18% strikeout percentage against right-handed hitters. So you have Peter Alonso, you have JD Davis, you have Cespedes, you have Ramos, all with power from the right side. Rosario hits right-handed as well. And then the lefties in this lineup hold their own against left-handed pitching as well. Looking at Jeff McNeil and Michael Conforto and Rob and Nimmo and Cano, this is a really deep lineup full of guys that can hit. Perez doesn't really strike out guys from either side, and if you can get into the Red Sox bullpen, there's some upside there. So as far as one-offs go, I think Alonso will be really popular, and he stands out as a really good option. But I think that there's a lot of upside in the full stack as well.
Yeah, Perez has a 50 over the last two seasons of 56%. Pardon me. Yep, 56% ground ball rate against lefties. Against righties, that just goes down a little bit. Still borderline elite, 47%. But it's the 1.61 home runs per nine against righties that are the issue. And he also has a double-digit walk rate there, so could be base runners. Not the worst place to go. If we look towards Steven Matz, almost identical numbers here against righties for him, 1.6 home run per nine and a 45% ground ball rate. If we look at lefties, let's see, he has even better 59% ground ball rate, allowing one home run per nine. We've seen strikeouts for him come and go. Adam, do you want to dance with the Red Sox using Steven Matz?
I think a lot. I don't want to use Mats. No, just a really dangerous right-handed lineup here. I think my interest in the Red Sox will depend heavily on their ownership because Mats isn't a bad pitcher, but I also don't buy into him being particularly good. He allowed a 193 ISO to righties last year, struck out 23.5%, but the power numbers are pretty scary when you're talking about facing JD Martinez, potentially Xander Bogaerts. Peraza's been swinging really well to start the season, and he's almost minimum salary probably as a leadoff hitter. So I think that at least mini stacking or one offing the Red Sox with JD or Peraza is going to be a good idea.
Right, and Bogart's expected back on Thursday. He sat out Friday just for soreness. He sat out Wednesday for soreness, but expected to be back on Thursday. Continuing along here, we have some intriguing pitchers here. You've got Shane Bieber coming in at 9,800, so of course you would have Shane Bieber less than J.A. Happ. He is going against the Twins. Difficult matchup there against the Twins. They, of course, set a major league record last year for home runs. They've had some nice games already this year. Talk to me about the Biebs, Adam. He had a nice showing in his first starts. This is not a great matchup, but he is a great pitcher. Sometimes they rise to the occasion. What do you want to do with the Biebs?
Yeah, it's not a good matchup, but I think that the argument in favor of Bieber here is that based on talent, he's much more than a $9,800 pitcher. He should be probably closer to 11K on DraftKings. So you're getting that discount for a Twins team that has a ton of power and is tough to strike out. Bieber struck out 31.7% of lefties, 30.3% of righties going back to the start of last year. He does struggle some with power, particularly to left-handed hitters. So it's scary when you're talking about Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, and Eddie Rosario in particular in this lineup. But there's not really a whole lot at the top that you're going to feel good about pitching wise. Bieber, I think, is very clearly the most talented pitcher on the slate. So I do want to get there. If he has a ton of ownership, then it would scare me a little bit just because the Twins are so good. But assuming some normal amount of ownership and that it doesn't go crazy, I think the discount on Bieber is enough for me to be interested.
Yes, and in his first outing, 14 strikeouts against Kansas City. He went 97 pitches, managed to go 6 innings. So that's good. We'd like to feel he could maybe get to 100, probably in the low 90s. Seems like a realistic outcome. How that goes against the Twins, we'll see. But getting that kind of workload from a talented player like him at that price point definitely does make it interesting. On the other side, we have Jose Barrios, who has, and I'm sure I'm saying that very incorrectly, but he went 75 pitches, managed to go 4 innings against the White Sox, did allow a home run and 5 earned runs to go along with 1 lonely little strikeout there. How are you feeling about Barrios? Maybe that's the better way to say it.
Yeah, not great. I mean, he's more expensive than Bieber. I'd rather go to Hap, assuming that Hap's not on any crazy pitch count. Barrios just doesn't strike out enough guys, I don't think, to justify this price tag. His velocity was up a bit in his first start, so that's something that we'll want to keep an eye on. But it's not like it's an easy matchup here against the Indians. The strikeout stuff doesn't compare at all to Shane Bieber, who is less expensive. And the matchups are similar. The matchups worse for Bieber, but he's just such a better pitcher than Barrios that between the two, I would just rather go to Bieber.
All right, and with regard to Hap, this is his first start. I was just looking to see if I could find anything. No real word there on any sort of pitch count for him. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Let's see here. We've got so many tabs open. Let's go find the one we really want to get to. All right, back to this one here. Ryan Yarbrough, Max Fried. Intriguing ones here, but the downside is this game is in Turner Field. Pardon me. It's in SunTrust Park, which is not that far from Turner Field, but it's in Atlanta. It is outside. It is going to be in the low 80s. We're going to have mid 70s for the humidity here. Ryan Yarbrough, 7,400, rather intriguing on DraftKings. He is going to be the starter. They're planning not to have an opener for him. They're hoping he goes 6 innings and change is kind of their goal. Going against an Atlanta lineup that is tough, but not perfect. On the other side, you have Max Fried, who is someone that I usually don't get to. Adam, let's start off with Fried. What do you want to do with him?
Do you have how many pitches he threw last time?
I'm calling that up right now.
Because I know Atlanta said coming into the season that they were going to be
67 for Fried.
67, yeah. They'd said they were going to be cautious with their pitching. At 8,600 or 8,900 on DraftKings. Yeah, 8,900. It's kind of scary. I think my opinion will partly be based on how many pitches Soroka throws tonight. They held him to 69 pitches his first start. So I'm interested kind of to see what their plan is as far as how they'll let these guys go in their second start. I do believe in Fried's talent. I think he is really good. He's got a great curveball. He throws mid 90s. The issue can be control at times, but I think he's really talented. So would have some tournament interest if I think he can get to like 80, 85 pitches, but it would still be kind of tepid just because of the price tag. On the other side, the salary for Yarbrough is favorable, but the matchup isn't against the Braves. You're also getting him outside of Tropicana. And despite Tampa Bay saying that he's a true starter this year and that he's fully stretched out coming into the season, they held him back a bit in his first start. He didn't go quite
69 pitches for him.
Yeah, too. He didn't go as deep as anticipated. So some concerns there. So I would say that, kind of mild interest in both pitchers, kind of as more so as a product of the slate. I think that Fried is legitimately good, but he's also expensive. Yarbrough, I don't really like the spot, but there's not a whole lot of mid-range pitching either.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that Terry and I, T. McBee, talked about last night for the early bird on Tuesday. there have been some wild pricing this far, particularly on DraftKings. We saw a couple days where the bats were way expensive. We've seen a couple days where pitchers were in the five figures that had no business being there. But we're all playing with the same thing, and the more it moves around, the more ideally it makes decision points increase. It gives more opportunities for our opponents in these tournaments to make more mistakes, and that's what we want to see. So don't get, we can't get all bent out of shape if someone's too expensive. We've seen enough cheap people get in. There's been some late scratches. There's always the looming COVID issue of somebody getting a positive test and then playing 6 games a week, and there could be others being bunched up soon enough with double headers, etc., that we're going to have the value plays that we need. So we kind of need to throw pricing out the window. Yes, it's a leading indicator. Yes, it will shape a lot of what we do, but don't just say, oh, there's no way I can pay this much for this person. New set of rules this year.
And I mean, as far as making lineups goes, in general, the more uncomfortable you are with the lineup you're making, the bigger the edge that day is going to be.
Right. And that's a even better way of saying it with that. So embrace some of the uncertainty here. It's fun. Drop down in your buy-in levels. Play the same volume. Just play more lineups and diffuse some of that variance into being in your favor. All right.
Next, big brag about being allowed to play below $5 there, EMac.
There you go. Well, you can all play it. Oh, you probably can't on FanDuel anymore either.
No, I can on FanDuel. But...
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Yes,
that involves playing on FanDuel.
I'm up to 700,000 in entry fees so far. So,
man, you're getting close.
Yeah, you'll still see me for another couple of years another 2 years on DK. But yeah, it's getting up there. Well, I've been playing on there since 2011, so just shy of 100K a year in play. So there we are. All right, Brady Singer and Ivan Nova, UG and double UG. But 5 implied run total on each side here. Brady Singer, in his first start, went 80 pitches. He went against Cleveland there. 7 strikeouts, 5 innings, 2 earned runs, just 2 walks, which is good to see. 6 ground balls, 6 fly balls. Of course, we can't infer a lot from there, but that's a nice line in general. We've got Ivan Nova, who in his first game went 73 pitches, allowed 2 home runs, 3 total runs. He had 9 ground balls, 6 fly balls, just 2 strikeouts. So I'm never really a fan of Ivan Nova. Strikeouts, not his game. He was kind of coasting on being a Yankee for a long time, and that boosted his fantasy stock for a while. It has been a long time since he was a Yankee. That was at least 5 seasons ago. So I am not really a fan of his. However, we have seen that this Kansas City lineup falls off rather quickly. They're going to do a lot of mixing and matching with their platoons. They've got a lot of 4th outfielders, utility infielders and stuff. They've got a core 5 group of people. But when one of that 5 is Alex Gordon, who probably should not be batting cleanup anymore, there is opportunity here. What do you want to do with Singer, who is on the ascension, and Nova, who is on the downswing?
I have some interest in Singer. I certainly don't think his last start is going to be the norm. Steamer projects him for like 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. He hadn't pitched above AA prior to this year. He was the Kansas City first round pick in 2018. He's only 23. He struck out about 22% of hitters at AA last year. So I don't think he's going to be a great strikeout guy, at least at this point. He certainly has the potential in the future, but it is a Detroit team that is not that great offensively. Cabrera's tough to strike out. Scope and Crone can hit a bit. Kristen Stewart's okay, but like there's nobody really in this lineup that's really that scary. They're at least a lineup where, as a pitcher, if you're on your game, you can get through this lineup, and he's not really that expensive. He also threw 80 pitches, as you said, so he's someone that we don't have to worry too much about a pitch count. It's a spot, you're not really that comfortable with him, but when you look at pitchers around him, Yarbrough 7,400 against the Braves. I think I would rather take the guy against the Tigers. There's not a whole lot else in the price range. You have a $6,300 Marco Gonzalez who doesn't strike anybody out. $7,100 Robbie Ray, great strikeout stuff, but facing the Dodgers. Like there's no real clear option in that price tier. And so I think betting on a guy that at least has Singer's pedigree and is facing a below average offense is something that I'll be doing.
All right. Rank these 3 players in ages. Miguel Cabrera, Alex Gordon, and let's go with Howie Kendrick.
That order.
It is from oldest to youngest.
Cabrera is the oldest, right?
No, it's actually Markakis. Probably something not Mark. Oh, I'm saying Markakis. It's Kendrick, who
Really?
is 37 with the July birthday. You've got oh wait, doing some math in my head, which is always dangerous. It is yeah, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You're right. It is Mig. How does the math? No, Miggy's 6 months younger, and then Alex Gordon is 36. Would you have thought Alex Gordon was 36?
Yeah, I knew he was up there. He's
Okay,
been like, I think he got drafted when I was in like middle school or something.
it would be about that time. The other guy that blew my mind was Kyle Seager. How old do you think Kyle Seager is?
34.
Only 32. All right,
Yeah, I thought
fun
he was
with
older.
numbers. Now back to pertinent information. Anything else from this battle of the AL Central?
DraftKings pricing on the Royals is still absurd. So in cash games,
You don't think Salvador Perez for 2,600 and Maikel Franco? I believe he is hard coded, Adam,
yeah.
at 2,000. There is no other explanation at this point.
So on one hand, like I wish they would hurry up and fix it. On the other hand, it kind of makes tournaments interesting or fun because, like, I mean, on any night that Kansas City scores 12 runs or whatever, like they did on Monday, you're just not going to win because that's all the teams that are cashing basically. But it's baseball, and like these guys are 30 to 50% owned. They're clearly the best values. What I ended up doing last night when in a similar situation was I used them kind of as one-offs in contrarian stacks, and it let me get the good pitching. Um, but I didn't have full stacks in my main lineups. But with this pricing, it's clearly you're going there in cash games. Like just play Maikel Franco at 2K, play Salvador Perez, play Soler, play Merrifield. Like the entire team is just so cheap against a bad pitcher. But at the same time, you're talking about there's 16 teams on this slate, so on average, any team's going to be the top scoring offense 6% of the time. You factor in the matchup, but also that Kansas City is not a great offense. They're probably going to be right around there in terms of top stack projection. If 25+% of the field is playing a team that breaks the slate 6% of the time, there's an edge in tournaments to just having teams that don't project quite as well.
I want to see where have they moved. Let's go to tonight's box. So Maikel Franco went from batting like 8th or whatever. He's batting cleanup already.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
Mondesi's batting 6th, which got him a nice ownership discount yesterday. He's only like 11% owned in the $250 on DraftKings.
well, they
It's
too much pressure on him, Adam.
right.
He's batting 100 or 125, and
But
then you
I couldn't help laughing because I looked at the team that I had. I had like a Kansas City mini stack with somebody low with like the Angels or something, and I looked and Mondesi was 11%, and it was like, okay, so everyone's playing the Royals, but they're just not going to play $3,300 Mondesi.
that's just it's wild. And super cheap Sal Perez 0 for 4 because hey, it's baseball.
Yep.
Baseball. All right, on to the next one here. The Mariners, the Angels. Marco Gonzalez going against your favorite, Dylan Bundy. Dylan Bundy has allowed 70 home runs over the last 2 seasons. That is the most in Major League Baseball. It warms my heart to be able to cite that stat when Adam is on the show with me. Marco Gonzalez does allow some home runs. He is an adequate pitcher. Most teams he would be a 4th starter. Mariners, he's basically their 2nd best player. He's going to have to run the gauntlet of Trout, Rendon. Let's give Ohtani, who's just finding lefty-lefty matchups. But that's really it. There's nobody else that's that great anymore on the Angels lineup. They fall off the shelf. Justin Upton, much like his brother BJ, forgot how to hit. David Fletcher, yeah, he's okay as a leadoff guy. He's great in season long because he qualifies for every position, but doesn't do a whole lot else. You've got Albert Pujols, who is now 40. He is batting 6th. Max Stassi had a home run the other day, but he's batting 8th, and there's a reason he's batting 8th and bouncing around the league. What do you want to do with Marco Gonzalez at 6,300?
I don't really want to roster him. You just don't get the strikeout upside there. The Angels lineup is still pretty solid. I mean, you add Rendon, you have Upton who strikes out a lot but has power. Shohei Ohtani, lefty, but he has power. Pujols is tough to strike out. Trout obviously is the best hitter in baseball. Fletcher's tough to strike out. It's still not a really appealing lineup to take pitchers against. especially pitchers like Marco Gonzalez, who strike out less than 17% of hitters that they face. So, I guess the argument would be that he's pitching in LA, but I mean, the Angels right now even have a higher implied run total than the Tigers. I think I would just rather go with the upside that Brady Singer brings. On the other side, though, I am interested in Dylan Bundy coming off of a huge start against Oakland. Oakland was a team he matched up really well against because there's a lot of right-handed hitters in that lineup. And while they have a lot of power, they also strike out a lot. And Bundy last season struck out 28.4% of righties compared to 17.6% of lefties. So I think that while the Mariners are clearly an inferior offense to the Athletics, this will be an interesting test to see if Bundy is the same old Bundy or if he's made some improvements, because you probably will get a predominantly left-handed lineup for the Mariners. All that being said, though, because of the lack of mid-range pitching on the slate, I still like Bundy here because, even if it is a left-handed heavy lineup, because he is out of Baltimore now, so the home runs will hopefully be a little bit less of an issue. It's still an overall weak, below average Seattle lineup, only a 3.8 implied run total right now. So I like Bundy a lot. I would feel better if there were more righties in this lineup, but either way, I'm going to be rostering Bundy.
Yep. And he had Bundy went 90 pitches in his last one, so that's also a nice sign that we can kind of think 85 to 95 is a reasonable expectation there. All right, two more to go. We've got Ross Stripling going against Robbie Ray. Stripling had a solid first appearance. Went 92 pitches. Of course, he was going against San Francisco. He had 7 strikeouts and 1 home run allowed for his only run. You had on the other side Robbie Ray, who made his first start in San Diego. Got a little bit roughed up. It was so here's the fun one. In last year, he had 33 starts. 20 he had 7 or more strikeouts. 10 he allowed multiple home runs. I mentioned this stat on Saturday and said, Adam, what do we want to do with him? He did get 7 strikeouts. He went 97 pitches. That's outstanding, but he doesn't get a lot of outs because he wastes a lot of pitches getting those strikeouts. I'm still good going back to him for the strikeout upside and price point. It's the Dodgers, though.
I think a ton here will depend on ownership, because I could see it going either way. You could have people saying the Dodgers have a 5.3 implied run total. They're a really good offense. I'm not going to Robbie Ray. In which case, in tournaments, give me the $7,100 pitcher that has the second highest strikeout percentage on the slate, or third highest strikeout percentage. Actually, no, last year he was higher than Bieber. So the only pitcher on the slate that last year had a higher strikeout percentage than Ray is Denison Lamette, pitching
Next,
in the
we'll talk
final
about
game.
him. Yep.
So on one hand, if people aren't going to take Ray, I'll take the strikeout upside in tournaments. On the other hand, if he's going to end up getting ownership because he's so cheap, then everything you said is legitimate concerns. The Dodgers are really good. They're tough to strike out. Robbie Ray throws way too many pitches. Those are all legitimate issues where if he's getting a lot of ownership and you like let's say Ray is getting 25% ownership and Singer's at like 6% or something, then even though Singer is probably not going to project quite as well, I would take my chances on Singer.
All right, and that takes us to the final one here. We've got Denison Lamette. I say the final one because we don't have an announced pitcher yet for San Francisco. I'll poke around and see if anybody has updated that yet. But this game is in San Francisco. It is going to be in the upper 50s. We like to see that. Denison Lamette is 9,200 on DraftKings. The Giants have a 3.6 implied run total. Lamette in his first start went 80 pitches. This was in San Diego against Arizona. He had 8 strikeouts on those 80 pitches, allowed 1 earned run, had 1 walk. That's very, very nice. So, Adam, is he the top pitcher of the night for you?
Sorry, how many pitches did you say he threw?
I just closed it. I think he threw 80. I believe.
Okay, then yeah, I'll say that was the only concern would be if they were babying him. But yeah, great matchup, great park, great strikeout stuff. As I alluded to before, Bieber long term is going to have the higher strikeout numbers, but Lamette's stuff is great. He struck out 33.8% of hitters last season. I don't really have anything negative to say about him.
All right, and just confirming, yes, indeed, it was 80. Let's see, it says this is courtesy of MLB.com probable pitcher page, which I was going to see if they had anybody for the Giants. They don't yet, but it said Lamette's fastball velocity sat in the high 90s and even touched 99 and 100 in his start last week. This is an uptick from where he sat last season. He worked 5 innings of 1-run ball against Arizona, striking out 8, as we had mentioned. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be good. Would not shock me if he approaches 40%, I guess, on DK.
Yeah, I think he'll be popular.
What did Garrett Cole end up on Wednesday night?
The only tournament I really looked at was the $250 four max. He was 58%.
Okay, I figured he was going to be over 50%, but
yeah, I'm sure that one probably drops pretty quickly as you go down in buy-in levels, because you just like Sal Perez, I think was like 55% owned in that tournament or something.
Right. I had capped myself at 40 because I thought the field would get to 50 and I wanted to come in under. And this just, so I'm just trying to see where I am with Lamette. There will be times where we kind of think about going all in on pitchers. Alex actually did it the other night with, who was the guy that got all the strikeouts for Tampa Bay?
Glasnow.
When he got the 9 strikeouts in 4 innings or whatever that was. Sometimes you're willing to push your chips in. Adam, I know you do that quite a bit. We got to remember, even though it's the end of July, we're 2 games in, or two turns through the rotation in here. It's a little dicey. Everybody ramped up, was about to go, and then took almost 4 months off. Tried to ramp up for a second time. We don't know who did what during that time off. We can already see some people were working out, some people were not. No judgment here, but we have no expectations for a lot of these players as to what they're going to do. And most of these starters are going to make 10 to 12 starts. That's it. There will be quick hooks. And if there's any sort of twinge issue or whatever, they're going to pull them, because why get them hurt? If you go on even the 10-day injured list now, that's, a whole chunk of the season. Whereas before it was, it's just 2 weeks. It's not that big of a deal. No, now it's like, over 10% of the season. So, you don't really want to do that. But definitely worth keeping an eye on, because Lamette could be one of those people that we push our chips in on. All right, Adam, with that, we are going to get on out of here. I do want to remind everybody that we are coming out on different podcast feeds now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or you've only subscribed to what used to be the Awesemo podcast, that will be the basketball podcast now. We are putting up different podcast feeds for each of the sports to help organize things a little bit better for everybody else. So all you got to do is just go look for Awesemo in Spotify or iTunes or whatever your favorite podcast source is, and you'll see the other channels that are there now. They've been approved everywhere. You can just hit subscribe on those, and then it'll just come down per normal. But you're not going to get baseball on the basketball feed. So just a reminder, if you wonder where we are, we're still here pumping out the shows. But that's the way to get to us. So with that, you can follow Adam on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.